Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Phee, and as always, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. We start strong this week with a look at YCS. Why the fuck would anybody ever go there? Or as the locals refer to it, I'm told, YCS Philadelphia. The event saw just shy of 2,300 duelists in attendance, and as was discovered in the middle of the day one of the event, was the last event of the format, or the last premier event of this format, which I'll get to later on in this video. In regard to this YCS, it was much of the same as the format had been prior, because why would it be different? Kashtira is clearly the best deck, and that's not how many weeks in a row have I said that. We'll find out in next week's update. Kashtira, of course, would ultimately make up 12 of the top 32 slots at the event in what was clearly the most dominant. Second most dominant was actually Super Heavy Samurai, although it only had 6 tops in top 32, trailed by 4 tops for Labyrinth, 3 for Branded, 2 for Pearly, and 1 apiece for Dinomorphia, Tearlament, Mathmech, Fluondereeze, and Eldritch. God, what year is it? 2022? Eldritch and Flu? God. And that's the joke. I actually kind of messed it up because I should have said Eldritch and Flu. What year is it? 2022. Either way, it rhymed though, so I'm the winner. The other joke, of course, is that Tearlament and Dinomorphia players both made it through to the top 16, while the 2 Pearly players did not. Don't worry though, it was still that format though, so that would be whittled down, of course, to top 8 to 5 Kashtira, 2 Labyrinths, a Super Heavy Samurai, and top 4 was, of course, no less than entirely Kashtira. Congrats go out to Dennis Nadas for taking the first place trophy and the last win of the premier event of the format. Apologies if I got your name wrong. I have a tendency to do that. Maybe I'll do the MBT and I'll just say everything wrong permanently on purpose. It's a great way to cover up, right? Sure hope so. Either way, surely this will be the last decisive win for Kashtira. Copium. Of all the things that happened at the event, the funniest was, of course, the absurd dropping of the ban list in the middle of, I believe it was round 2. It's just in the middle of day 1. They just dropped a new ban list for a new format. And I'm sure the level of excitement and chaos in that room was one of a kind. I actually almost wish I had been there, and that's saying a lot because it's fucking Philadelphia. I'm sure you had to be there, but on the other hand, it's YCS Godless Wasteland, so how much did we really miss out on as a community? The next YCS announced thus far is the North American Remote Duel YCS for the weekend of June 24th and 25th, but in the meantime, there were plenty of other events that happened this weekend that we can look at as well. The UK Nationals also took place this weekend, and while the format has changed, there is at least one deck worth talking about, because nestled in among the 6 Kashtira decks in top 8, right beside the lone Labyrinth Warrior, was a Rika Sun Avalon deck list that actually ended up making it all the way to top 4. And that's a list that is fully legal, even under the June 5th ban list, meaning it's not irrelevant. There's something to talk about here. It ran a large, or at least in my opinion, a sizable cross-out designator package right in the main deck, even siding in a copy of Dimension Shifter, depending on whether or not the matchup called for it, which is, in one hand, smart, and on the other hand, it's like, wow, cross-out. Remember that card? I also remember 2022. Otherwise, it was a fairly standard, modern plant deck, you know, Rika Sun Avalon good stuff list, which is stronger now by the virtue of everything else having become weaker, technically. This deck has been a bit of a sleeper of sorts, I think, for quite some time now. Someone will just get like anywhere from top 16 all the way to first place playing it, and then everyone will go like, oh shit, our plant's actually good? Yo, is this deck good actually? And then we all forget about it, and then a few months later someone else tops with it. And is that because it's difficult to play, or is it because people aren't accustomed to playing it? Who knows? But now maybe you can be the next person to top with Rika Sun Avalon. A locals W's still a W, right? Probably not going to top a YCS, no disrespect, but the likelihood of that, you know, you being someone who would, very marginal in the size of my audience, I'll tell you that much. Sucks to suck, we're all here just scrubbing out at locals. Oh well. And lastly, when looking at a format that is technically dead, although there's still one weekend left, but let's be real here, folks, we can take a look at the Australian State Nationals that took place this weekend as well. That's right, folks, we're going down under. I have now pissed off all 15 of my Australian viewer base, and of course we'll have to apologize for that next week in what will be a never-ending continuing strain of videos wherein I apologize for being an ass the week prior. But until we get to that, we can look at these events. Top 8 for the events across all of these is interesting to look at, considering it's a region that, to my understanding, has not really properly received OTS Pack 21 as of yet. Problems with shipping to Australia. Apparently that's difficult. Sorry for all my Australian viewers, for all 15. See, we're already apologizing. My God. The various regions had consistent tops from Kashtira, and if I understand all of this properly, for their various states, Kashtira ended up winning 3 of their events with a single win for Super Heavy Samurai as well as Pearly, which those 2 players can be really proud of because they probably won't repeat that success with those decks again. Fuck me. There were also plenty of tops for Labyrinths at various events, showing that the deck was already strong across all 3 regions we've talked about today. So Labyrinth investors seem to be the winners overall. Crazy, I know, they just didn't hit that. Anyway. We also got an announcement for another Team YCS. This one's set to take place in Sao Paulo, Brazil on the weekend of September 3rd and 4th. Bruh. Which of course means that Konami is sending people to Brazil in teams of 3. That's right, Konami has made the send him to Brazil meme real in 2023. A touch late if you ask me, but hey, I mean, the pandemic was a thing, wasn't it? Of course, the question by then will be what format is going to be the one that's played in, because we got some news this weekend, and it's the damn ban list. Yes, on a random-ass Saturday that I had already set out to do nothing but play Tears of the Kingdom on, and they disrupted that. And, you know, the middle of UK Nationals and YCS shithole. Really just going in on Philly. YCS Philadelphia. Konami dropped the ban list. I think we all expected it at some point this week, but not in the middle of a fucking event. C'est la vie. Can't complain, though, and so the rush to talk about it began. If you want my take on it in depth, I made this video where I talk about the whole thing and ramble on with no script actually, and just really any knowledge in general beyond the fact that I am Zelda's strongest soldier. I have a problem. Anyways, it was that was then, and this is now, and I've now had a week to sit on it and think about the ban list and how I feel on it, and I'll go over briefly because I don't think it was a bad list. But I personally don't care for it too much, nor do I think it was especially good. Now, in full clarity, I own a Pearly deck, and I was debating even going to YCS Vancouver this year with it, since by chance I would have a deck that would be a pretty good meta contender at that time after Duelist Nexus dropped and gave it the new support. And maybe I'd stand a chance and I wouldn't have to blow all my money on the new deck. I could maybe blow money on some staples I don't have or whatever. But now that dream is dead. And I'm salty, okay? I'm a salty cat boy, and that is a statement that is going to both taint my take on this ban list and my reputation, because good God, I just called myself a salty cat. What the fuck, dude? Whatever, moving on. I do support the idea that they were going for of hitting not only the strongest deck, but also the follow-up decks that would become the new strongest decks if we hit the current best ones. I do support that. This shows that they aren't just hitting the old toys to push the new ones for sales, and that they're examining the game and, you know, events at large. The ban list is as much about pushing product as it is balancing the game, yes, so it's not, you know, pure for the intention of the game, but they do need to try and keep us happy in some capacity, or else we wouldn't be fucking playing this game. My problem with this list is I feel that the decks that needed to be hit the hardest got the lightest hit, and the new toys got much more significant hits relative to the old toys. Super Heavy Samurai and Pearly are much weaker under this new list, and while Kashtira is weaker as well, probably still going to be a top deck. Not the top deck, maybe. Labyrinth is a threat, but it's a little more fragile, but it still does the same things it was doing before. Just, you know, no Diablosis for the degenerate off-chance 9 zone lock that they could do from time to time. And while that's not huge, but I wanted a little more on cash if we're going to be that hard on other decks. That's the main takeaway. Like, yeah, people would have complained about Super Heavy Samurai and Pearly being awful and it being a droll format. Like, yes, people would have complained otherwise, but like, we're all gonna complain always. That's all the internet is. Have you been on it? It's fucking miserable. It's entertaining, but people, all we do is bitch. It's the number one thing in the world. And I'm not too pleased with it. Now, that's not the end of the world, mind you. It's not a bad list either. Like I said, they banned the branded expulsion, which means less Nightmare Gimmick puppet plays or less good ones, which I'm good with. I think that's the right move. Card sucks to play against, and banning Cyberstein is correct. That card is fragile, but when it does go off, it's oops, Exterio in addition to my normal end board. And Super Heavy Samurai could do it, so fine with it being banned. Card's never, like, at its best, it's a bad combo deck tutorial on YouTube, replay to some generic background music, and at its worst, it's Exterio on top of a super heavy board, so fuck that. And, you know, they acknowledged other problems. I'm fine with it. I just wish it had been a little more. And you can go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment. I'm just kidding, of course, because this list gave us 3 multi-roll and 2 engage, so it sucks and I fucking hate it. List is bad. Striker players, fucking hit them with the line, Chris.
Hey there, Sky Striker players. My name's Chris Hansen. Why don't you have a seat right over there?
You're goddamn right. Well, are you fed up with ban list discussions after 3 weeks of waiting for it and now a week of having to think about it and discuss it online? If that's the case, fuck you, because Master Duel has just dropped its new ban list as well. And now we get to ask the question and have it answered of, is Tier Limit Meta 2 finally done? Is it water under the bridge and what might be a pun because they're aqua types? Or is the most skill-intensive and thought-provoking mirror match this game has ever seen, according to some, going to continue for another month? Guess what? It's here for another month. And I don't really care one way or the other, but this conversation about tier limit has been going on since like November, practically speaking, since we got Magnificent Mavens, and apparently it's just fucking my purgatory, because it never ends. Here is the full ban list for Master Duel with some appropriate changes and some funny ones as well. Cyberstein dies twice in 1 week, so it's a very rough week to be fans of paying 5,000 life points, it seems. Smoke Grenade also gets banned, which if anyone complains about, they're a terrible person. That card is degenerate as fuck. And Terraforming is banned as well. And a first for any of the formats between Master Duel, the TCG, and the OCG, as I believe Terraforming is at 1 in the OCG, and it's definitely a 1 here in TCG. It's a reasonable hit. I don't think I can practically argue against it. Field spells have been nothing but insane as time has gone on. Runic Fountain can draw you 3 cards, and Perlerino and Tearlaments is an insanely good card. Plus, you have the likes of Dragonic Diagram, which has been limited since, like, I want to say 2018. Ballpark in that area. Damn good field spell, even today. And that's just 3. Field spells are incredibly strong and only getting stronger, it seems, and a generic card to search them out is incredibly strong by proxy, so I can almost see it happening soon enough in the TCG. Can't say I've ever called it, not gonna pretend it's like, I can't believe it. Meanwhile, the Ishizu cards are now limited, and they only hit to tier, and by the Ishizu cards, I mean all of them except for Kelbeck, which Kelbeck's the better miller of the two in Yugioh, right? That's kind of the joke in and of itself. Kelbeck's at 2, but don't worry, Yugioh's at 1. Adigo? It's gotta be Yugioh. I can't speak. I can't read. What is life? Apart from that, it seems fine. I mean, Sprite blue to 2. Whoa, fix that deck. Nadir Servant and Ben 10 are now both at 2, which I believe is coming up. The alternative is, of course, that they were at 3 and they got semied, which would be so fucking hilarious if in the middle of Tier Limit and Sprite they were like, hey, yo, fuck Drytron. That would support a number of people, I'm sure, but these are coming up to 2, and it's like, neat, it's still Tier Limit Sprite. And because that's not enough for Master Duel, they've also announced that the Yugiohs are coming to the game. That's right, a new selection pack is coming with Yugiohs, which had a huge impact on tier limits here in the TCG. So to prevent that, both Magnemite and Druis Worm have already been limited in Master Duel. Long live tier limits. This does not end. The hard counter that might have given your rogue deck a chance is dead. But on the bright side, the hard counter to your rogue deck is also dead. So find positives, folks. Please at least try, because I've had enough of the complaining about tier limits. So yeah, it seems Tier's going to be the best deck, and Sprite's close behind us still. One more month, baby. I'm sure the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anonymous Twitter will provide nothing but thought-provoking and high IQ takes on that, and I can't wait for that to all bleed onto my timeline somehow. And lastly, for Master Duel, a new rank has been introduced to the game. Yes, the new Master rank is the new top spot, right above Diamond. Along with these changes, you no longer will be demoted for losing duels in gold. Nice, hard stuck gold is more of an insult now. Sick. It will require more wins in gold to get promoted, of course, and they've changed it so that platinum rank requires more losses to be demoted, so a slight change and more to grind towards. Because of course, we must remember your rank in Master Duel is a reflection on your quality as an individual. Ah, fuck. And a brief bit of community news this week, with a special mention in particular to Joshua Schmidt. The Master Duel World Qualifiers was this past weekend, requiring players to grind out duels for 72 hours for a chance at making it. Only 8 players in the entire world had any chance of qualifying, and Josh played for roughly 63 hours this weekend, which did earn himself the spot in the EU. He said he got about 9 hours of sleep overall and was otherwise dueling. It is an insane dedication to getting the spot, and a well-deserved win for him. I also believe Team Samurai's Sam got just short. He ended up getting 3rd in the North American region, which sucks, but like, it's no small feat. Like, congrats on that. Is an insane top for the both of them. You know, I'm sure Sam will do better next year, and I'm sure Josh will do well at Worlds this year. An obvious congrats to all of the winners, and we can hope that they enjoyed all the rest they probably needed on Monday. Just look at this here posh, I can't speak, gentlemen. Ladies, gentlemen, ladies. I'm losing my fucking mind. This here picture posted by Joshua Schmidt of him going outside following his long weekend. Not even ironic, and I don't blame him, just touching grass. The results of grinding to Worlds on Master Duel is just a desperate need to touch grass, I'm sure. Look at how saturated the greens are in that picture, and how glowing the sky is. That's not even any effect of the camera and the lighting. That's just Germany. I don't know if you're aware of that. Conversely, if you want to see what it was like for Sam when he was done, let's take a look at Toronto.
It's not possible. You fucking idiot!
Fun fact, that was caused by a psychotic breakdown after also trying to compete in Master Duel's Worlds qualifying tournament. I understand nobody was seriously hurt by that, don't worry. But as the man in the video said, what the fuck? This is, of course, all to summarize the point of the question of should Worlds be decided by a 72-hour grind fest, wherein the people who qualify are those who are most willing to sacrifice all senses of quality in life. And better yet, having the 32 or 16 people who go to Worlds be people who earned the spot and not the top 8 and their friends. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure the people who topped are competitive. They have to be because they're number 1 in the world or 2. But like, there's a number 3 and 4. We could bring the people who worked hard and did it. Like, I'm sure the people who've been invited also, I'm not trying to discredit anyone that ends up at Worlds. I'm just saying there's fucking a long list of people who are trying here, and we can give them the deserved credit of earning 3rd, 4th, or 5th, because that's no small accomplishment in and of itself, and not have them have to do it in 72 hours. I'm just saying, I believe there may be a way to improve on this. But maybe I'm insane. Maybe, as I've said too many times, I'm an idiot. Who knows? The only thing I do know is that I'm Zelda's strongest fucking soldier, and I am about to 5 Lionel Arrow bomb lightning strike with reshoots. I'm gonna go nutty when this. I'm losing my mind. I enjoy Tears of the Kingdom. Let's wrap it up. Yes, that is it for this week's update, so let's give thanks to this week's sponsor, the LIFD Magnetic Display. The best way to support the channel currently, and the true duelist-approved way to display your cards, or the used-up plastic that your cards come in. You know this stuff? Like, you get your card, but it's not just in a card, it's like we gotta get the cards in a little plastic, and it's in the top loader, and then it's in this little plastic like bag. And you could put this on display too. You shouldn't, but you could. Do whatever you want. Either way, you can do it with 50% off using my promo code, or you can have it apply automatically by clicking the link in the description. Thank you to LIFD for the support as always, and most of all, thank you for watching. So that'll wrap it up for this week's update. As always, I've been your host, Craig Fee. Make sure you subscribe to Yugioh Strats for this week's update, next week's update, last week's update, every update, other videos too sometimes, to impress your smoking Italian wife, and most of all, so that you too can be a true duelist.